Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. Monday Night Raw tonight was from the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C., and I am starting this review early. I don't even care about the main event, because it is a triple threat match. It's the last triple threat match tonight, and it's Alexa Bliss versus Becky Lynch versus Nikki Cross. We had another triple threat match earlier in the night where it was Bayley versus Asuka versus Rhea Ripley. And the winners will get to face off next week on Monday Night Raw. And the winner of the match next week will get to face Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship. But this Monday Night Raw tonight, it was just very meh, in my opinion. Very meh show. And tonight on Monday Night Raw, we had the Usos versus Matt Riddle and Kevin Owens, where the Undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship was on the line. Of course, we had the two triple threat matches, Bayley versus Asuka versus Rhea Ripley. We had Austin Theory versus Mustafa Ali, where the United States Championship was on the line. We had a six-man tag team match between the OC and Baron Corbin and the Alpha Academy, Chad Gable and Otis. And then we saw Dominik Mysterio versus Akira Tozawa. Yeah, some good match that was. That's a bathroom break match. And now in the main event, we're seeing Nikki Cross versus Alexa Bliss versus Becky Lynch. Triple threat match. But overall, this Monday Night Raw is very meh, in my opinion, or was very meh by the time you guys are watching this review. But anyways, let's get right into the review. Monday Night Raw opened up with the Usos and Sami Zayn and Solo Sikoa, the Bloodline. Of course, no Roman Reigns, no Paul Heyman. So the Usos end up making their way down to the ring, along with Sami Zayn and Solo Sikoa. And they played footage of what happened earlier in the day, where a black SUV ended up driving into the arena. The Usos came out along with Sami Zayn and Solo Sikoa. Byron Saxton caught up with them. And as soon as Byron Saxton was going to ask a question to the Usos and Sami Zayn and Solo Sikoa, Matt Riddle ended up riding his scooter. He ended up scaring them by riding his scooter. So we had the Bloodline was very pissed off. So Elias came around the corner and Solo Sikoa blindsided Elias and he ended up throwing him into a barricade. And so pretty much basically they took out Elias, which Matt Riddle was supposed to team up against. But because of what happened, Elias couldn't compete. So Jey Uso got on the mic. He ended up saying, Washington, D.C., the Bloodline, is now in your city. Jimmy ended up saying they've got some bad news because the tag team title match that was supposed to happen has been canceled. So the crowd ended up booing at that. Jimmy Uso ended up saying that everyone came to see the Bloodline compete. But the bright side is Matt Riddle doesn't have to be humiliated. And Elias can work on any song he wants to. So he ended up saying that they can concentrate on being the best tag team champions ever. Him and Jey Uso. He ended up saying that every tag team in the locker room are the twos, and they are the ones. So then Matt Riddle ended up coming out. Matt Riddle came out to the stage, and he got on the mic. He ended up saying that it wasn't cool of the Usos and Solo Sikoa, to take out his tag team partner, Elias. He ended up saying that it was Elias' first chance at gold. Riddle ended up saying that he didn't think the Bloodline would run from a fight. And he was like, well, that's not very, how can you say, oozy? So Sami Zayn ended up getting on the mic. He ended up saying, hold up, dog. He ended up saying that he's a certified ooseologist and that he will tell what is and isn't oozy. So Sikoa ended up showing us why he's the enforcer, and he ended up saying, that's oozy. So all of a sudden, Sami Zayn is a ooseologist. Saying when things are oozy and things that are not oozy. So Sami Zayn ended up saying that Riddle coming out there and running his mouth thinking he ever had a chance at being the bloodline, that is not oozy. He ended up saying, unless Riddle wants to suffer the same fate as Elias. So Sami Zayn suggested that Matt Riddle end up turning around and going home. But Riddle ended up saying that he did find a tag team partner and that there will be a tag team championship match. Riddle ended up saying that he doesn't get along with his partner and they're not really bros, but they both hate the bloodline. So Riddle's partner was Kevin Owens, KO. Kevin Owens ended up walking out, and so we had the first match of the night, which was the Usos versus Matt Riddle and Kevin Owens for the Undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship. And this was a good match here. Jey Uso started off the match with Kevin Owens. Jey Uso ended up going for a kick. Owens ended up blocking the kick, and he punched Jey back into the corner. Owens started stomping away on Jey. Owens ended up getting Jey to his feet, and he sent Jey into the ropes. So Owens delivered a back elbow, and he followed up with a senton splash onto Jey. So Owens ended up going for the cover. Jey kicked out at 2. Owens then put Jey in the corner, started punching away at him. Owens ended up going for the cannonball, but Jimmy Uso ended up pulling Jey out of the ring. Owens ended up going outside the ring, and he ended up delivering a clothesline to Jimmy. Owens ended up sending Jey into the barricade. So as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Kevin Owens ended up picking up a near fall, and I just want to tell you all about what's happening in the main event here. Io Sky, Dakota Kai ended up coming out, beating up on Becky, and they ended up driving Becky through the commentary table. Alexa Bliss hit the Twisted Bliss on Nikki Cross. So there you go. Alexa Bliss ended up winning the main event, so she gets to face Bayley next week. And so the winner of the match next week will get to face Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship. To which, obviously, it's going to be Bayley. So, yeah. Alexa Bliss ended up winning. So, like I said, she's going to be fighting Bayley next week on Monday Night Raw. No one contend this match to face Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship. So, but back to this. Kevin Owens ended up hitting Jimmy Uso with a cannonball. Owens ended up connecting with a moonsault. So Matt Riddle ended up tagging in, started punching Jimmy back to the ropes. So we had Jimmy end up delivering a boot to Riddle. Jey Uso then ended up blindsiding Riddle as he tagged in. And so the Usos ended up hitting Riddle with a split. Jey ended up grabbing Riddle's leg, started stomping away at Riddle's midsection. So Jey ended up choking Riddle on the ropes. Jimmy ended up booting Riddle in the head, and he ended up tagging in. He ended up going up to the top rope. Jey ended up hitting a backbreaker to Riddle. Jimmy came off the top rope with a diving forearm, and he went for the cover, to which Riddle kicked out. Riddle got back up, and he fought back at Jimmy, but Jimmy ended up flooring Riddle with a uppercut, which was a devastating, crazy uppercut. Jimmy then ended up punching Kevin Owens off the apron. Riddle started quickly unloading on Jimmy with some strikes. Jey ended up tagging in, and once again, the Usos end up hitting a spine buster on Riddle, and so Jay ended up going for the cover. Riddle kicked out. So Riddle ended up chopping Jay's chest. Jay connected with a back suplex into a neck breaker to Riddle, and he went for the cover. Riddle kicked out again. So then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Riddle was in control, and he ended up hitting Jimmy with a Broton. Kevin Owens tagged in. He immediately ended up going up to the top rope and delivered the Swanton Bomb onto Jimmy. So Kevin Owens ended up going for the cover, and Jimmy kicked out. Kevin Owens sized Jimmy up, and he ended up going for a stunner, but Jimmy ended up getting out of it. Owens blocked the super kick from Jimmy, and he ended up booting Jimmy. Kevin Owens then ended up going for the pop-up powerbomb. Jimmy ended up getting out of that, and he delivered a super kick to Kevin Owens. So Riddle and Jay ended up tagging in. Riddle attacked Jay, but Jay came back. He ended up knocking Riddle into the ropes. So we had Solo Sikoa end up getting in Kevin Owens' face. Riddle end up wiping out Solo Sikoa with a diving senton. So Jay ended up quickly taking Kevin Owens out with a super kick. Riddle then ended up booting Jay and yelled at Sami Zayn. Jimmy then ended up blind tagging in. He ended up grabbing Riddle. Jay then ended up super kicking Riddle. And so the Usos end up hitting Riddle with the 1D. And there you go. The Usos end up winning the match, retaining the Undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship. So post-match, we had the Bloodline. They were attacking Matt Riddle. Kevin Owens ended up running in with a chair, and he cleared the ring. So the Usos and Sami Zayn ended up running off as Kevin Owens was chasing them with the chair. So Riddle was in the ring, and Solo Sikoa came in. Solo Sikoa attacked Riddle with a super kick. Sikoa then ended up tying his thumb, and he grabbed Riddle. And Solo Sikoa ended up connecting with a Samoan spike to Riddle, just like his late uncle Umaga. If you all remember, Umaga used to do the same thing, with the Samoan spike to his opponents. So I thought that was a good tribute to, Umaga, Solo Sikoa's, late great uncle. So, and it's been 13 years since Umaga passed away. Yesterday was, 13 years that it made when Umaga passed. So Solo Sikoa then ended up hitting a running hip attack in the corner to Riddle. Solo Sikoa went to the outside, and he retrieved the chair. Sikoa then ended up putting a chair around Riddle's head, and he put Riddle in the corner. Sikoa then delivered another hip attack into Matt Riddle with the chair around him. And then Solo Sikoa left the ring. EMTs ran down, and we saw them put a neck brace around Riddle. And then Riddle was being stretchered out of the arena, put into the ambulance, and that was that. But overall, good opening match to Monday Night Raw, even though it was predictable. We all knew that the Usos were going to retain the titles. And Solo Sikoa doing the Samoan Spike, I hope they make him keep that. Because, it's a tribute to his late uncle, Umaga. So I really do hope that they make Solo Sikoa, do the Samoan Spike to his opponents. But good opening match. And then we saw Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley was backstage with the Judgment Day, and she ended up saying that Bayley and Asuka are not like her. Ripley ended up saying that when she finishes with Bianca Belair, she ended up saying that the locker room will all call her Mommy. So pretty much that was basically what Rhea Ripley had to say. And then we went backstage to JBL'S POKER Invitational, which we saw this throughout the night, and it was awful. I did not even care for this. This was so cringe and terrible. I mean, we saw the OC there. We saw AJ Styles. Dexter Lumis was involved. I'm like, really? So we had 2 poker tables set up. And, superstars were around the tables. JBL ended up saying that this is equivalent to WrestleMania. Are you kidding me? This Poker Invitational is equivalent to WrestleMania? What? So Dexter Lumis walked in, and he had the black bag full of money that he won last week when he defeated The Miz and signed his WWE contract. So JBL ended up saying that this is an invitational and that Dexter Lumis wasn't invited. Dexter Lumis dumped the money out of the bag on the table, and JBL ended up welcoming Dexter Lumis to the tournament. So pretty much that was that. We saw this throughout the night. It was terrible. And then we had Bayley end up coming out. Bayley made her way into the ring, and then Becky Lynch interrupted her. Becky Lynch appeared in the crowd. Becky Lynch ended up saying that she was just up at the merch stand, thinking about how fun it was being up Damage Control last week. So Becky Lynch ended up joining Bayley in the ring. Becky ended up saying that it's been 3 years since her and Bayley faced one another, but they haven't even scratched the surface. Becky ended up saying that Bayley carried the company on her back during the Thunderdome era. And that's true. Bayley ended up carrying the company on her back along with Sasha Banks during the Thunderdome era, during the pandemic. But Becky ended up saying after that, their paths didn't cross because of injuries. So Bayley ended up telling Becky she knows their history and that Becky doesn't need a reminder. Bayley ended up saying that Becky Lynch doesn't care about anyone but herself. She ended up saying that she's been the one looking out for the fans. To which Becky ended up saying, while that's true, only 2/3 of Damage Control has been successful. Because she has no gold. Because Bayley has no gold. Because Becky was saying, oh, I see 2 champions and 1 loser. So Becky ended up saying that she hopes Bayley wins the triple threat match and that they can go one-on-one to make some history. That's if she is woman enough to face the man. So pretty much that was basically what Becky had to say. So then Rhea Ripley's music ended up hitting. Rhea Ripley headed to the stage, and Rhea Ripley approached Becky Lynch on the stage. So Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch had a stare down. They had a stare down at each other. Rhea Ripley ended up sneering at Becky, and she got in Becky's face. And so Rhea Ripley ended up walking off, and she made her way into the ring, and pretty much that was basically that. But from the looks of that, who knows, we might be getting soon Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch. So I could tell that that's in the cards, and that's what WWE is going to do. Overall, it was an okay segment. And then we had the first triple threat match, Bayley versus Rhea Ripley versus Asuka. And this was a decent match here. Match started off with Asuka drop kicking Bayley. Rhea Ripley ended up rolling Asuka up, to which Asuka kicked out. Bayley took Asuka down. Rhea Ripley ended up rolling Bayley up, to which Bayley ended up kicking out. Ripley ended up getting Bayley out of the ring. She hit Asuka with the suplex, to which she went for the cover, and Asuka ended up kicking out. Rhea Ripley clubbed Asuka's back, ended up putting Asuka in the corner. Rhea Ripley ended up shouldering Asuka in the corner. Bayley ended up going to roll Rhea Ripley up, but Rhea Ripley didn't go down. So Bayley ended up avoiding a stomp from Rhea Ripley. Bayley ended up grabbing a waistlock, but Rhea Ripley ended up knocking Bayley back. Bayley then ended up sliding out of a slam from Rhea Ripley, but Rhea Ripley ended up powering Bayley into the corner, delivering some shoulder thrusts. Rhea Ripley then connected with a vertical suplex to Bayley. So Rhea Ripley then came back to Asuka, who was still in the corner, and Rhea Ripley ended up whipping Asuka into the opposite corner. Rhea Ripley ended up grabbing Bayley, ended up whipping her into the corner, as well. Rhea Ripley then attacked Asuka, ended up throwing her across the ring. Rhea Ripley then ended up grabbing Bayley, ended up throwing her. So then Asuka attacked Rhea Ripley with some strikes, and she delivered a kick that sent Rhea Ripley down to her knees. Bayley then ended up clotheslining Rhea Ripley in the back of the head, and Asuka ended up following up with a sliding kick to Rhea Ripley. Bayley and Asuka worked together, which they ended up sending Rhea Ripley into the ring post. Bayley then ended up attacking Asuka, and Asuka ended up knocking Bayley back. Bayley ended up avoiding a hip attack by Asuka, to which Bayley ended up pulling Asuka out of the ring, and both women started brawling at ringside. And all we saw was Rhea Ripley end up taking both Bayley and Asuka out, and Rhea Ripley did a cannonball plancha off the apron to Bayley and Asuka, which looked good. So then, as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Rhea Ripley was in control. She started stretching Asuka. She held Asuka up, and Bayley ended up kicking her. Rhea Ripley ended up putting Asuka in the corner, and she ended up whipping Bayley into Asuka. Asuka ended up dropping Bayley out of the ring. Asuka started unloading on Rhea Ripley with a vicious strike. Rhea Ripley ended up blocking the whip, ended up sending Asuka into the corner. So Asuka ended up kicking Rhea Ripley, and she sidestepped Bayley. Bayley ended up hitting Rhea Ripley. So Rhea Ripley ended up slamming Bayley down. Asuka ended up going to jump off Bayley to knee Rhea Ripley, but she ended up slipping. So Asuka ended up taking Rhea Ripley down with a double knee facebuster, and she ended up going for the cover, to which Rhea Ripley ended up kicking out. So we saw that Rhea Ripley later on, she had some blood on her shoulder, and she was arguing with Bayley. So Bayley ended up trying to blindside Rhea Ripley, but Rhea Ripley ended up grabbing Bayley by the throat. They were exchanging blows. Asuka came off the top rope with a double code breaker to Bayley and Rhea Ripley, which was good. So we had Asuka end up covering Rhea Ripley, to which Rhea Ripley ended up kicking out. Asuka ended up running over to Bayley, and she ended up going for the cover, to which Bayley ended up kicking out. So Bayley had Asuka on the top rope, and Asuka ended up knocking Bayley down. Asuka ended up hitting Bayley with a missile drop kick, to which she went for the cover, to which Bayley kicked out. Asuka then quickly transitioned into the Asuka lock, but Rhea Ripley ended up drop kicking both Bayley and Asuka. Rhea Ripley ended up covering Asuka, to which Asuka ended up kicking out at 2. So Rhea Ripley ended up leaping off the steps later on, and she was going to do a cannonball to Bayley, but Bayley ended up moving out of the way, so Rhea Ripley ended up hitting the floor hard with the cannonball. So Bayley got back to the ring. She ended up rolling Asuka up, and Asuka ended up kicking out. Asuka ended up hitting a strike attack on Bayley, and then she ended up going for a missile drop kick, but Bayley ended up sidestepping that. And Bayley ended up delivering the Rose Plant on Asuka, and she ended up going for the cover. So there you go. Bayley ended up winning the match. Post-match, Rhea Ripley got into the ring. She ended up attacking Asuka. Rhea Ripley then delivered the Riptide to Asuka, and pretty much that was that. But overall, this was a decent match. Rhea Ripley, really did good here. Asuka, there was sloppy, stuff from her in the match. But overall, it was decent. I wasn't surprised to see Bayley win the match. And then we had Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins ended up making his way down to the ring. And before that, I forgot to mention, we had Corey Graves and also Kevin Patrick. They were talking about Drew McIntyre being medically disqualified from competing on SmackDown on Friday. And that Butch will replace Drew McIntyre to team with Sheamus. So they're going to face the Usos for the Undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship this Friday on SmackDown. So that was announced. So Drew McIntyre is out for Friday. So then Seth Rollins, made his way out. He's going to face Bobby Lashley next week on Raw to determine the number one contender to face Austin Theory for the United States Championship. So Seth Rollins, he was wearing a blue and white getup, much better than what he wore last week. I don't know what the fuck he was wearing last week. I mean, what the fuck was that Rollins was wearing last week? It's like he raided Becky's wardrobe, found that, and came out with it last week. I don't know what that was that Rollins was wearing last week. Like fucking woman's clothing on Rollins. So Rollins ended up welcoming the crowd to Monday Night Rollins. He ended up saying that he'll be going one-on-one with the almighty Bobby Lashley next week. Rollins ended up saying that he has plenty of things to say to Bob. But since he's not here, that's no fun. So Rollins ended up saying that Washington, D.C. wants to have fun tonight. So Washington, D.C. ended up singing Rollins' song. And then the almighty Bobby Lashley came out. Lashley got on the mic. He ended up saying to Rollins that he's here and wants to know what Rollins wants to tell him. So Lashley ended up warning Rollins to be careful with that. Rollins ended up saying that Lashley hasn't been the same since he lost to Brock Lesnar. He ended up saying to Lashley, there is no shame in losing to Brock Lesnar. And then he was like to Lashley, where's your obsession with Brock Lesnar? So he was saying to Lashley, are you scared of Brock Lesnar? To which Lashley ended up saying to Rollins that he knows what he is trying to do by getting under his skin, by Rollins getting under Lashley's skin. So Rollins ended up saying that Brock Lesnar has the career Bobby Lashley wishes he had. So Lashley grabbed Rollins and he ended up saying to Rollins that this isn't about Lesnar. This is about him. This is about Rollins. And the United States Championship should be around his waist. So Rollins ended up saying that the United States Championship won't fill the void left in Lashley's heart because he can't beat him. So Rollins ended up saying that if Lashley doesn't get his head right, beating him next week will be easier than the first time. So Lashley then ended up punching Rollins down. Rollins popped up, and we had a brawl ensue between Lashley and Rollins. So the brawl spilled out to the floor. Both guys were brawling at ringside. Lashley ended up putting Rollins on his shoulders. Rollins slid off of that. And so we had referees and producers end up running down to break it up, to break up the brawl between Lashley and Rollins. Rollins ended up breaking through the referees and the producers, and Rollins ended up attacking Lashley, and they were broken up again. Rollins got into the ring, and he challenged Bobby Lashley. Lashley ended up running in. He powered Rollins into the corner. So Lashley was pulled back. And so Lashley ended up spearing WWE producer Petey Williams. So Petey Williams was down from the spear by Lashley. So Rollins got out of the ring and he was shouting at Bobby Lashley. He was shouting that Lashley has really done it now. So, and pretty much that was basically how the segment ended. But this was a pretty good segment here with Bobby Lashley and Seth Rollins. And then we saw Byron Saxton. Byron Saxton was backstage with Austin Theory, the United States champion. Theory ended up telling Byron Saxton that a few challengers to his reign are nothing when the forever is just beginning. So Theory then bumped into Mustafa Ali. Mustafa Ali, he's entertaining, but still, he doesn't want to be in catering, as I see it here. So Mustafa Ali ended up saying that Austin Theory is writing checks his mouth can't cash in. So Austin Theory ended up telling Mustafa Ali just to quit, since he keeps getting beaten down. So Mustafa Ali ended up saying to Austin Theory that he's had to fight for every opportunity. He ended up saying that he will keep getting back up in his face and win the United States Championship. So Austin Theory ended up telling Mustafa Ali to get ready. He ended up saying after tonight, Theory doesn't ever want to hear the word opportunity come out of Mustafa Ali's sorry mouth again. So pretty much that was basically that, but Mustafa Ali getting ready to take another L. So I guess Mustafa Ali loves taking L's nowadays. And then we went back to the JBL Poker Invitational. JBL ended up getting a glass of whiskey. We ended up going to the table, and we saw Baron Corbin, Chad Gable, Luke Gallows, and Dexter Lumis playing poker. So Gable ended up saying that he's intelligent enough to know when to get out. So Gallows ended up shouting at Chad Gable that he's a nerd. Gable then shushed him. Awful. So Corbin ended up saying that he's trying to get a read on the freak show, Dexter Lumis, before calling him. So Corbin ended up putting down a decent hand, and Dexter Lumis ended up putting down 3 aces and a pair of jacks. Corbin then accused Dexter Lumis of cheating. So Dexter Lumis then pulled an axe out from under the table, to which Corbin agreed to keep playing. So then we saw at the other table, Akira Tozawa was cleaning up whatever was on the table. Dominik Mysterio ended up stopping him. So Tozawa ended up calling Dom a thief, to which Dom ended up saying that if Tozawa has a problem with him, then he has a problem with the Judgment Day. And then Dom was like to Tozawa, oh, well, you're almost as short as my deadbeat dad. So JBL ended up saying that he doesn't like Dom's deadbeat dad any more than him. But there's no fighting here. JBL ended up saying that this is a classy establishment. So JBL ended up telling Dom and Tozawa to do it in the ring. So Dom walked off and grabbed a handful of chips. And pretty much that was basically that. Shit was awful. And then we had Austin Theory versus Mustafa Ali, United States Championship on the line. This was just very meh, in my opinion. Austin Theory ended up taking down Mustafa Ali. Mustafa Ali fought back, and Theory ended up taking him down. Theory started digging his knee into Mustafa Ali's face, to which Theory ended up sending Mustafa Ali into the corner. Mustafa Ali ended up sidestepping Theory, ended up hitting a head scissor takedown on Theory. Theory rolled out to the apron. Mustafa Ali ended up drop kicking Theory out to the floor. So Mustafa Ali ended up connected with a nice suicide dive to Austin Theory. Mustafa Ali ended up grabbing Theory, and Theory ended up getting away. Theory ended up flapjacking Mustafa Ali into the ring post, and then Theory ended up sending Mustafa Ali into the barricade. So then, as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Mustafa Ali was in control of the match. Mustafa Ali ended up punching Theory into the corner. Mustafa Ali delivered a chop to Theory's chest, but Theory ended up getting out. Ali ended up kicking Theory back, ended up hitting a neck breaker to Theory. Theory quickly ended up coming back. He ended up grabbing Mustafa Ali. Ali ended up countering into a backbreaker on Theory, to which he went for the cover. Theory kicked out. Ali ended up getting Theory on the top rope. He ended up going for her Hurricanrana, but Theory ended up trying to hold Mustafa Ali up. So we had Theory end up loosening his grip, and both guys end up going down to the mat, which was a very scary landing there for both guys. So that was a crazy fall from Theory and Mustafa Ali. So Ali got back up. He ended up hitting a tornado DDT to Theory, to which he went for the cover, and Theory ended up kicking out. So Mustafa Ali ended up stopping away at Theory. He ended up going up to the top rope. Theory ended up sweeping Mustafa Ali's feet. Theory put Mustafa Ali in the Tree of Woe, and he started stomping away at Ali. Theory started punching away at Ali, and then suddenly, Dolph Ziggler came into the ring. Dolph Ziggler delivered a super kick to Austin Theory, and the ref called for the bell. So there you go. The match ended in disqualification, and Austin Theory retains the United States Championship. Post-match, Dolph ended up shouting at Theory, and then Mustafa Ali turned Dolph around, and Mustafa Ali was irate at Dolph. So Theory ended up knocking Dolph into Mustafa Ali, and he officially threw Mustafa Ali into the ring post shoulder first, which Mustafa Ali sold that very good. Mustafa Ali ended up crashing at ringside, and then Theory ended up hitting Dolph Ziggler with the A-Town down, and pretty much that was that. But overall, Dolph Ziggler still has unfinished business with Austin Theory. And, this match was an unadvertised United States Championship match. And it ends in a disqualification, which I'm fine with. But, Dolph Ziggler coming in there just being random was just weird. So, but overall, it was a very meh match. And, maybe this will lead to Mustafa Ali versus Dolph Ziggler. I sense that wouldn't be a bad match there. It could be, a decent, good match between Mustafa Ali and Dolph Ziggler. And then we saw JBL. JBL was talking on his phone about the POKER tournament, and the Miz ended up walking up to him. Miz ended up telling JBL that he didn't get an invitation to his POKER Invitational. JBL ended up saying that he didn't know that Miz is a card player. So Miz ended up saying that he doesn't have liquid cash on him, but he does have a Rolex. JBL looked at Miz's Rolex and he ended up telling Miz that, this Rolex is a fake. So the Miz was stunned, and then he walked off, and that was that. So then after Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we went back to the POKER Invitational. So Chad Gable ended up folding, and Baron Corbin ended up putting down a good hand, and cards ended up falling out of his sleeves. So Styles then accused Corbin of cheating. JBL then became irate. He ended up saying, "You're ruining this tournament. You're ruining my tournament." So Styles ended up saying that Corbin can take Alpha Academy and meet the OC in the ring. So JBL was upset and he walked off. And so Johnny Gargano and Dexter Lumis was at the table. So Dexter Lumis and Johnny Gargano packed up all the money that was on the table and also the chips. So then Corey Graves on commentary was like, oh, well, Dexter Lumis, he's a stalker, but he's a thief also now. So pretty much that was that. And that was the end of the Poker Invitational. Very awful it was. So then we saw Kathy Kelly. Kathy Kelly was backstage with Bianca Belair, the Raw Women's Champion. Bianca Belair was asked about possibly facing Bayley for the Raw Women's Championship. Bianca ended up saying to Kathy Kelly that Bayley was impressive, but she knows how to handle her. She ended up saying as for Rhea Ripley, she could have handled her loss better than attacking Asuka. She ended up saying as for the next triple threat match, she is ready for anyone. Bianca ended up saying that she stays ready, so she doesn't have to get ready. So there you go. That was what Bianca had to say. So she's ready to face, anyone. She's ready to face Bayley or, whoever won the main event, which was, of course, Alexa Bliss, which I explained earlier. So she's ready for Bayley or Alexa Bliss. And then we had the six-man tag, the OC, AJ Styles, Luke Gallows, and Carl Anderson versus Baron Corbin and the Alpha Academy. Styles, Gallows, and Anderson were accompanied by Mia Yim. No, not Mishin. It's Mia Yim. But this was a pretty decent match here. JBL was on commentary during the match. Match kicked off with Corbin and Styles going at it. Corbin ended up clubbing Styles down. He ended up hitting a shoulder tackle with Styles. Styles quickly ended up kicking Corbin back. So we had Styles end up delivering a kick to Corbin. Styles connected with a DDT to Corbin and he tagged Carl Anderson in. Chad Gable also tagged in, so Anderson and Gable going at it. Gable ended up taking Carl Anderson down. Gable ended up rolling Anderson over and applied a side headlock. Anderson ended up whipping Chad Gable off. Chad Gable ended up delivering a shoulder tackle to Anderson. Chad Gable ended up hitting the ropes, but Carl Anderson delivered a hip toss to Gable. Gallows then tagged in, so we had a double team with Gallows and Anderson on Chad Gable. They ended up doing a double team shoulder tackle. Gallows ended up wrenching Gable's arm, but Gable ended up twisting out and did a kip up. Gable ended up knocking Gallows back and shushed him. So Gallows ended up shouting that Gable is a nerd. And then we had a stupid, awful, shush nerd battle between Gable and Gallows. It was fucking awful. So Anderson ended up taking back in. Gable ended up quickly putting him in the corner. So Corbin tagged in and attacked Carl Anderson. Otis tagged in and he delivered a shoulder to Carl Anderson. And then Otis slammed Anderson down. Otis ended up clubbing Anderson's back. And he tagged in Corbin. Corbin elbowed Anderson in the neck. And then Anderson fought back and delivered a chop to Corbin's chest. Corbin then shoved Carl Anderson into the corner. Carl Anderson ended up sidestepping Corbin. Corbin quickly ended up hitting an out and in clothesline to Anderson. He ended up going for the cover. Anderson kicked out. So Corbin started elbowing away at Carl Anderson. He ended up going for a back suplex. Anderson flipped through and tagged Styles in. Styles ended up taking down Corbin. He ended up knocking Otis down. Chad Gable ended up quickly pulling the top rope down to get Styles out of the ring. And then Otis clotheslined Styles on the outside. and he saw Chad Gable, who was on the ring apron. This was stupid, where he was on the ring apron going, looking like a crab on the ring apron, just doing. Yeah, that was Chad Gable. That was Chad Gable on the ring apron. Looking like an idiot doing that. So at the end of the match, Carl Anderson ended up charging at Chad Gable. Chad Gable ended up going for a German suplex. And Gallows ended up breaking up the suplex. Anderson and Gallows then ended up hitting the Magic Killer on Chad Gable. And they go, the OC ended up winning the match. Overall, this was a decent match here. And I really enjoyed this six-man tag. And then we saw Alexa Bliss backstage. She was warming up, going into her triple threat match. And we saw Lily there, and we saw the Bray Wyatt, symbol there. Alexa Bliss, looks like she may be turned heel. And I hope, when they do turn her heel, I don't want to see dark magic Alexa Bliss where she's shooting fireballs at, opponents, where she shot a fireball at Randy Orton. We all remember that. That was awful. And then having a love fest with Lily the doll, where she's obsessed with the doll. I don't want to see that if they turn Alexa Bliss heel. We don't need magic on a pro wrestling show. Look at what they did with Alexa Bliss under the old administration. Vince and Bruce end up giving Bray Wyatt's gimmick with the Fiend to Alexa Bliss. And Alexa Bliss is doing all this magic. Like I said, she shot a fireball in Randy Orton's face. We don't need that. We don't need Alexa Bliss going back to that if they turn her heel. Just make her a full-fledged heel. None of this stupid magic shit. We don't need it. And we saw Byron Saxton. Byron Saxton was backstage with Candice LeRae. Candice ended up telling Byron Saxton that she's a new mom and that she has a lot to fight for. So Johnny Gargano and Dexter Lumis end up coming up to her, and they end up showing her the money that they took from the POKER Invitational. So she was surprised, and she kept saying, "Holy!" And then Gargano ended up covering her mouth, and pretty much that was that. Both Gargano and Candice LeRae, Dexter Lumis ended up going off to spend the money. So that was that. And then we had Dominik Mysterio versus Akira Tozawa. Absolutely boring match this was. Tozawa ended up kicking at Dom, ended up hitting a diving hurricanrana. So Dom ended up stomping away at Tozawa, started taunting the crowd. Dom, of course, did the Three Amigos to Akira Tozawa, in honor of Eddie Guerrero. And then Dom went for the cover. Tozawa kicked out at 2. Dom ended up applying, of course, the thing that WWE loves to do to slow down a match. Can you all guess what that is? If you said chin lock, ding, 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 you are correct. So Dom ended up applying a chin lock to Tozawa. Tozawa fought up, and Dom ended up sending Tozawa into the ropes. Tozawa came back with a hurricanrana, and he connected with a Shining Wizard to Dom, to which he went for the cover. Dom kicked out. And then we had Tozawa end up going up to the top rope to deliver a diving senton onto Dom. Dom moved out of the way, and then he ended up going up to the top rope, hit the frog splash, and there you go. Dominik Mysterio ended up winning the match. Post-match, Balor ended up directing Dom to attack Tozawa more. Dom ended up going to attack Tozawa, and the Street Profits end up running down to protect Tozawa. And so the Judgment Day end up running off, and pretty much that was that. But calling it now, next week, we'll possibly see a 6-man tag where it's Balor and Dom and Damian Priest versus the Street Profits and Akira Tozawa. Watch they do that next week. Like, I'll care. And as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Bobby Lashley was shown leaving the arena. Adam Pearce approached Lashley. He ended up saying to Lashley that they have to talk about what happened earlier. The brawl between Lashley and Rollins. Pearce ended up saying that he's not saying that Lashley did it on purpose or is taking his number one contenders match. But there will be consequences if Lashley and Rollins brawl again. So Lashley ended up telling Adam Pearce to make sure no one gets in his way again. So pretty much that was basically that. If Lashley and Rollins go at it again, there will be some consequences happening. And then, of course, it was the main event. No one contend triple threat match. Becky Lynch versus Alexa Bliss versus Nikki Cross, which I said earlier. Alexa Bliss ended up winning the match. So next week on Monday Night Raw, we'll be getting Bayley versus Alexa Bliss. The winner will get to face Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship. But I'm leaning more towards Bayley win the match. But then again, we'll have Bayley versus Bianca again. But if Alexa Bliss wins, I'll be fine with that because, have Bianca win the match and Alexa Bliss loses, and then maybe at that point, WWE could turn Alexa Bliss heel. So that's one option I would definitely see them doing. And then next week on Monday Night Raw, we're getting Seth Rollins versus Bobby Lashley. No one contender match to face Austin Theory for the United States Championship. We're also going to see Candice LeRae versus Io Sky. And then, of course, Bayley versus Alexa Bliss. Winner gets to face Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship. But that was Monday Night Raw tonight. Overall, very meh show was. Last week's Raw was much better, in my opinion. Anyways, that's it for the Monday Night Raw review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all Wednesday night for AEW Dynamite. So until then, see you all later.